Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, peoplings, earthlings everywhere. Firstly, thank you all very much to those of you who have liked and subscribed. I greatly appreciate it. Right, the first thing I want to talk about is that the majority of my content on YouTube, I'll just move that, I explain these are my thoughts and opinions. I don't believe I've ever said something is fact unless it is a fact. So when I see Sugars saying, you lie, and I say, example, link and timestamp, please, they just say, all your videos are lies. So when I say, as many of you know I do often, I might be full of shit. These are just my thoughts and opinions. Let's go into Fiona's imagination. I can only deduce that someone somewhere, maybe in Santa Barbara, feels that my guesstimates and yours, which we find through our own life experience, perhaps hit a little too near the bone for someone's comfort. Now, this is quite an important video because, as you know, the Duchess of Kent has just passed away at the great age of 92. Her funeral will be held on the 16th of September at Westminster Abbey. All the royal family are expected to attend. It's very unusual actually for it to be a Catholic funeral, but she was Catholic. She converted to Catholicism. Excuse me just a moment while this gentleman passes on his... Now, as you also know, the press are saying Harry is due to land in the UK tomorrow. Well, in my opinion, hey, Sugars, in my opinion, which I'm allowed, last time I looked, I know you Sugars have a mistress who you bow down to, who creates the rules and the laws of the moon and the stars as far as Meghan Markle's concerned, but in the rest of society, we do still have free speech to a certain extent, and most of us do exercise that, and we think a little more straight than you Sugars around Meghan do. So it is my opinion, and it is not inconceivable, that Harry's been in the UK for quite some time already now, perhaps even tucked up with his Uncle Charles at Althorp, however you want to pronounce it. There may be shots of him at an airport, and if there are, then it's him or his missus who's called the paps, because I can't honestly see the royal family giving an iota's hoot about if and when Harry lands in the UK. Now, then he has the Well Child Awards, which I think are on Monday, aren't they? Which coincides, as we all know, with the late monarch's death. I think that having been a Catholic, Catherine, I'm not sure because I'm not Catholic myself, but I have heard that Catholics' funerals, they do later, quite some time after the person has died. And of course she was a major member of the British royal family. But I mean, even so, it does make it a little inconvenient for Harry. Sorry, while this fabulous breeze just goes by. A little inconvenient because then he would have to extend his stay. What I want to brace you all for is brace yourselves for Harry saying, oh, I was so close to my Auntie Catherine. I must go to the funeral at Westminster Abbey, and I must be given priority seats because I am a senior member of the royal household, and Catherine was friends with my mother, who was Princess Diana, by the way, in case anybody didn't know, who was also actually Prince William's mother. So brace yourself for this. These are just my thoughts. Basically, I was looking up Catherine, Duchess of Kent, and I wasn't even looking for Harry. And up he pop in a puff piece. Oh, maybe Harry, Meghan and the kids need to go to Catherine Kent's funeral, and then, but within an hour, another puff piece and another puff piece and another puff piece. Ah, right, so it's also not inconceivable that a certain person would stoop as low as to use the death of a 92-year-old relative to use it as an opportunity to force contact with the King and the Prince of Wales and the rest of the royal family and get pap shots on the world stage in central London at Westminster Abbey as a grieving person. Yes, I can imagine, can't you? That's imagination, sugars. That's not fact. This is not me telling anybody anything is fact. No, that's your job, sugars. Speaking of which, I'll come to that at the end of the video. Now, I was looking back a day or two about these ridiculous ideas that Charles and Harry have been trying to arrange a meeting. And I saw a few days ago that a palace insider, now this is where we've got to be careful because sometimes it's just source, sometimes it's palace source, this is newspaper speak, sometimes it's a close friend, and sometimes it's palace insiders. Now I believe palace insiders means either a palace insider or it means Prince Harry because he was in the palace at one point. But somebody, I do believe that it's probably both sides have been, one's probably Harry's side leaked and then the palace have counteracted to get a palace insider to say, well, look, this is a bloody nightmare. So apparently what's been going on, if this is to be believed, I hasten to add, or I'll take my sunglasses off, how rude of me. It's one of those dull days, but bright. Do you know what I mean? There's cloud, but somehow the sun is really. So apparently the way the story goes is, and I can actually well imagine this, that Charles's private secretaries and people at the palace were entertaining the idea of a possibility of meeting Harry. And that Harry had been nag for that door to be opened even a crack. But then it would appear, and this sounds well on form and typical of Windsor, that a whole deluge of demands came forth. You know, number one, he wants his IPP security back for not only him, his wife, his two kids. Number two, he wanted something else, but the big one was he wants Meghan to be recognised by every member of the royal family as Her Royal Highness and to be curtsied to by every member of the royal family. Now, I'm sorry, sugars, but I find that very easy to believe. Very easy. Can you imagine the look on the faces of the people at Buckingham Palace? That the very idea that the King and Queen would have to curtsy and bow to Meghan, that the Prince and Princess of Wales would somehow have to curtsy to Meghan without cracking a smile or pissing themselves laughing at how ridiculous this is. That potentially prime ministers and world leaders would have to, maybe Harry wants her to have a different throne room created, not the throne room, because that's not big enough, it's not good enough, I want a bigger one. Maybe, have you ever seen one of those crowns on Amazon? It's cardboard. I must get one. And it's like the sun, and it sticks out about 18 inches all around the head, like a big spherical load of spikes. Maybe she wants something like that, man. I mean, wouldn't that be fucking hilarious? If I worked at the palace, I'd be halfway inclined to say, sod it, let's do it, and then invite the press. This is going to be fucking hilarious. Let's show the nutter up for what she is. Yeah, sorry, my patience has run out with people who have bad mental health and use that and attack others. I'll come to that at the end of the video. So yeah, there's this list of demands. Now then it goes further than that, another day later. Apparently it's an absolute bloody mess, total shambles. This was before Catherine died. Catherine, Duchess of Kent, died. Bloody shambles. Harry and his father's people can't even agree on a date, a venue, a why, a where, a time. Everything has turned into a battleground. Well, I think we could all have predicted that, couldn't we? It was never going to happen. Any more than Meghan was going to be the President of the United States, for fuck's sake. Harry has completely torpedoed himself and continues to do so at every turn. Number one, he is far from brain of Britain. In fact, he's probably one of the stupidest men in the entire country. I know there's a bit of a competition and a load of other candidates running for that one at the moment, but he's vintage moron, isn't he? He's held that crown for a long time. Number two, him and Meghan argue the toss about everything. I mean, let's say he's finally got the king, his father, but he is the king. To say, yeah, go on. God's sake, what do you want now, Harry? Go on, let's just say, hypothetically, I were to agree to meet you. Now, apparently the king suggested, or his people, Clarence House or Windsor Castle, both places of which Harry would be more than familiar because they were where he grew up. They were his home, for goodness sake. Well, to a large extent. No, Harry don't want that. Not Clarence House, not Windsor Castle, no, out of the question. Does he want to stay in one of the royal residences? No, out the question. Do it in a hotel. I want to do it somewhere else. Want to do it he wants the King of England to go and I use that term loosely and generically. I know he's the king of shitloads. To go somewhere, I don't know, a little chef on the M25 or Soho house, which is full of hoes, isn't it? Then there's like Charles's people saying, well, no, that's out of the question. What do you want in this meeting anyway? Well, apparently that's when the demands came forward. The curtsying to Meghan, pay for full security. I can see it falling apart way before that. But I mean, if it hadn't already fallen apart, I can see that one being like a deal clincher. Like, tell him to get knotted. He's learned nothing. Apparently the king's people were trying to put the message across that if there were any chance of any meeting, it would be on the basis and the understanding of starting on a fresh sheet and not covering old ground. Oh, apparently Harry said, no, that can't be. He wants to rake up every little itty bitty argument and gripe that him and Meghan have, and they need apologies. And can you see this? It's incredulous, isn't it? The guy is on his belly, in my opinion. He's skint. He's run out of money. That's why he needs to meet with the king. And as soon as the king just shows him, if he has indeed, shows him a little itty tiny bit of sunlight, here, off come the demands. I want an apology. Here we go again. And the king must have phoned William up, if any of this actually happened, and said, you were right. You were absolutely right. He's a bloody nightmare. He can get stuffed. I'm sorry he's my son, and it must be very difficult for Charles because he is a parent. Any parents out there, try and put yourself in their shoes. So then, of course, the lovely, legendary Catherine, Duchess of Kent, has died and will be. I don't think it's going to be state funeral, but it's going to be a big thing. I think a lot of people underestimate how popular she was. I mean, she was lovely. She was a true princess. She was, I think, way more beautiful than any of the Hollywood stars of her day. I think she continued to be beautiful on the inside and the out right up until the end of her life. She was humble. She was a Yorkshire lass. It was her idea to get married at York Minster, so she didn't forget her roots. She didn't really want to be high profile. She was the furthest thing from a narcissist. She was into music and charity and sport. And you've seen all of that. She couldn't have been further from Harry. And I never, ever heard Harry, Meghan, Omid Scobie, any of them ever mention her. Not once. Not once. You brace yourselves. I bet you he's going to do that. Now, I know how we all think. Well, I know how I think is, just don't let him into the funeral. But that's a little bit of a tricky thing. Now, it's not going to be open to the public, so old Hazza won't be able to just march right in. There will be security. But the press are going, they're already running a bit of a campaign against the Waleses. The press could use this as an opportunity to have a dig at the royal family, and get the violin out. Oh, poor Harry wasn't allowed to go and pay his respects to his Auntie Catherine. Oh, who loved him. And they'll pull out all the photographs of her and Diana, and there are many. So that the palace people will be painfully aware of that image. So, it is kind of convenient that being a Catholic funeral, there's some distance, so Harry will actually have to stay in the UK. If he's paying for his own security, then that's going to cost him even more money. Will Megsy and the children come over and show us the back of their heads? Will they attempt to gain entry to the funeral? And if they can't gain entry, will they send a wreath and then have it released on social media how they privately sent a wreath, but they've informed a ton of people in the newspapers that they sent the wreath and what flowers they chose and what the sweet nod. Oh, I hate that. It's a sweet nod to this and a sweet nod to that. It's almost as bad as olive branch, isn't it? It makes you want to vomit. All the sweet little nods and the sweet little flowers that Megsy chose for the Duchess of Kent because they were so close. I'm not sure there are any photographs of Meghan and Catherine Kent, actually. But then that kind of thing can always be photoshopped, can't it? Let's face it. Not difficult, is it? And of course, Megsy's press people don't question it. They only question it when it's an actual working member of the proper member of the royal family. That's when we must put a red mark on it. It's disinformation. But when it's old Megsy, no, that's fine. That's just fine. It's taken a long time, isn't it, for the press and the hoi polloi to figure out that the majority of the British public would really rather they didn't turn up, come, get involved, be on the balcony. And if, let's say he does turn up at Westminster Abbey, can you imagine if he did a Caroline of Brunswick? I don't know if all of you guys are familiar, but we had a king called Prinny, George the Third. No, George the Fourth. He was Prince Regent for a long time. His father, George III, he's the one who lost America, French Revolution, all that sort of era. Well, his son Prinny, that's what he had a house in Brighton called the Royal Pavilion. It's got a roof like onions. It's gorgeous. My favourite building actually in Brighton. I'm from Brighton. And Prinny married Caroline of Brunswick. And they didn't have a very happy marriage. And they had a daughter called Charlotte, who would have been the Queen. But unfortunately, Charlotte died in childbirth. And she was really popular, like Princess Diana popular. Anyway, her mother, Princess Caroline, when George III finally died, George IV was going to have a coronation and he didn't want his wife in Westminster Abbey. And he told the guards, I don't want her in there. And apparently she turned up and she was banging her fists on the door and causing a scene and screaming her head off and, beefeater on each arm, dragging her away. Snot swinging in front of all the crowds. He didn't care. He's inside hearing all this boom, 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 boom. Like a cat fight outside. Thank goodness they didn't have the internet or TV in those days or even a camera. It would be amusing if Harry and Meghan did something like that, wouldn't it? Because there is TV, cameras, internet, etc. Do it, Windsor. Go on, do it. I say that's for what it's worth, in case the little pleb watches my videos and then he might think, oh God, they might do that to me. You imagine that? How humiliating being dragged away by beefeaters who are tough as shit. Ever go Tower London? These guys are fantastic. Best storytellers ever. And hard as nails. Ex-military people. There'd be all sorts of guards and armed police outside Westminster Abbey. So, those are my thoughts and opinions on that. Now, what you might see, and you have recently seen, is me posting the odd cryptic post, both on X and on my community page. Does everyone remember Ellie Hall? Well, some pretty strong evidence and information has come my way. I think we're getting close, guys, to the day that the big headline breaks. But that's a story for another day. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening. Good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and may your God be with you.